Hey Highlands, I am here to talk to you guys about finances. I know that's super exciting, and it's probably not for many of you, but it is. Some of you it might be, but really it's just super important. As a church, we want to make sure that we're financially accountable to you, that you know what's going on, and that you know where blessings are and where needs are, and that you're informed of all of those things. Some of you guys might not even know how Highlands is governed. We are part of a network of churches that has some governance over us, but ultimately day-to-day activities, finances, things like that are, for us, governed by a leadership team and a finance team that we have right now. The leadership team oversees big picture ministry things. The finance team oversees the finances, obviously, and budgets and hirings and firings and all the things that go along with that. So we're hoping in the new year to combine those two teams finally and transition into an administrative team that'll oversee both of those things. But for now, that's how that works. And so today we are going to look at the numbers over the last year of Highlands. To start that out, I'm going to have Tim Willis, who is part of our leadership team and part of our finance team, come up here and share with you about the numbers that...
I'm here to give you guys a big snapshot financially of where we are as a church and an organization. There is a PDF available with our profit and loss statements, our balance sheet, and on there are certain categories such as salaries, meaning David's and Maggie's and whatever else or whomever else we would have to pay for Sundays. There's facility costs, rent, anything that goes around that piece of it. There are things that revolve around ministry expenses, things that are food bank, any service or anything revolving around the outgoing ministry things that we do. But what I would really like to talk to you about today is our income, our expenses, and our burn rate. Our burn rate meaning is basically us, how much we lose per month compared to our income versus our expenses. Hopefully that was clear. But that said, is our average monthly income is $7,813. Our average expenses are $14,062, which means every month we lose, or our burn rate is $6,249. Let me give you some more detail to be able to digest those numbers a little bit. When we started Highlands, we raised about $100,000 to start our organization here. And that allowed us and afforded us a lot of time and space to be able to figure out who Highlands is, to figure out how much Highlands costs to run. And it also allowed us to figure out how much we would bring in as a church every month. And so we knew for a time we would eventually spend more than we would bring in until we actually truly establish ourselves and eventually get in the black, as they say. So the numbers that I shared with you are averages from January to the end of October. And so we have a little bit of projection on the back end. But COVID happened about March. And so when that happened, our expenses actually, January we're doing good. And then our expenses, or our income went down, and then our expenses kind of went up a decent bit for a period of time, just because of we transitioned to online church and to be able the safety protocols and the things that went with that. And then our giving went down for obvious reasons. Hopefully we're on the back end of that, and we're starting to see an upward trend of what our giving is as we look into the fourth quarter of this year. Our current balance, if we look at with our averages and what's been promised and what our expenses would be, we would net out in our bank account about $67,000. Which means if giving stayed exactly where it is now, it didn't go up, it didn't go down, it just stayed there, we would be able to survive as a church for about 10 to 11 months. And so our burn rate is what we say is about 10 to 11 months. One of the figures that I know churches and organizations like to have is, what's your cash on hand? And basically is, if giving stopped completely and we just had our $67,000, how long would we last? Our number would be 142 days. A to give a comparison and why that figure maybe would matter is a healthy church would say, hey, if I have 80 to 120 days, that would be considered a good number. Ours is 142 days, which that sounds good, and it is good for sure. However, the fact that we still have a burn rate and still that we are taking in less than what we actually make, it kind of puts an asterisk next to that. That said, is those numbers all look scary. Burn rate numbers sound scary, and they're just big numbers. And I would like to shed a little bit of light or perspective on that. Is the positive things are the one things that come to mind are this. Is one is I just alluded is we're trending the right way. Like we really do see an upward trend in our giving on the back end of a pandemic. I think that's a really great thing. It shows that like we're perhaps more resilient than, we're as resilient as we thought we would be. And then the other thing that I thought was really neat is just the donors that gave and contributed. Many of who's listening here really gave us so much runway and allowed us to be able to survive and start doing well in the midst of a pandemic. So comparatively, if you were to start a church and said, hey, you have 10 to 11 months to be able to start a church and figure it out and kind of just go from here, most people that would be starting a church in that scenario would be jumping for joy and being like, this is super great. And so that said is we will probably throw a party the day that our burn rate goes away and we bring in the same amount that goes out and maybe we become in the black in that way. So that day will come. But that said that's the state of the union. That's kind of where we are as a church. I will throw this at the back end of this is if you do consider Highlands your home and you want to be a part of what we're doing here, I really would encourage you to give and be a part of what we're doing here financially. Thanks.
All right, so you guys have heard all of the basics about the numbers from Tim. He did a great job. I am not sure about the hat, but to each his own, I guess. We're a diverse family. So just a couple of things that I want to share with you guys that I think those numbers indicate about our mission and our values. First, I want to say that we are committed to investing in people over things. We've tried to keep our rent and our expenses related to stuff as low as possible. And I hope that when you look at these numbers, that's reflective of that value. And if you feel like it's not, please let me know. The second thing I want you to know is that it is our goal to soon be a ministry that it at least breaks even and then is able to even give more away and to also save well and effectively. And so that's what we're aiming towards. The third thing I want to say is that we are committed to not going into debt. And we've stayed true to that value up to this point, and we don't plan on changing that for any reason. And then the last thing I want you guys to know is that I know that we at Highlands in a lot of ways are trying to do something that is fairly new and can be fairly difficult. When we were in the early days of planning and dreaming of Highlands, one of the things that we dreamed of was a church that provided ministry to the community without asking for anything in return. And to do that is challenging. It means that a body of believers have to commit to not only carrying their own financial responsibilities within the church, but also the financial burden of those who would not yet call themselves the church. It's like paying for mission, but not mission to other countries where you get to go visit. It's mission in our backyard. The reason we want to do that, the reason that we believe that that's important to the integrity of our mission is that too many times those outside the church have viewed the church with suspicion, especially regarding money. And we believe that one of our opportunities to be a city on a hill, which is a value of ours, is to change that perception. And that means for us as a body that we ask you to give more than you're initially going to see that you would receive from us, but not more than you're going to see bear fruit in the community. And I actually asked a few people in the community who aren't connected to our church to talk about that. So here's some brief videos.
Hi, I'm Kim Bloss, the Executive Director of External Affairs for Marietta City Schools. Since the COVID-19 pandemic struck in March, one of our main concerns has been meeting our students' basic needs. We wanted to ensure that everyone had enough food so that they had the fuel to learn. So we were so grateful when the Atlanta Community Food Bank approached us with an offer. They would donate canned goods, fresh fruits and vegetables, and meat and dairy items if we could find a way to get this food to the students of Marietta City. And thanks to you, the Highlands Church community, we have. Since early April, despite lockdowns and quarantines, Highlands Church has helped us share almost 1 million pounds of food, unloading dozens of pallets a week, counting, sorting, packing, loading buses, and helping distribute, and then hauling truckload after truckload of perishable items to walk-in coolers at other churches and picking it all back up again and running a weekly drive-through distribution. Week after week, through rain and shine and lots of summer heat, the Highlands Church community has risen to the challenge and responded to the call. On behalf of our school district and on behalf of the thousands of families whose lives you have impacted, we thank you. We are so grateful for your incredible efforts and for your
Highlands means a lot to me personally. I'm so thankful for the support that the Highlands Church provides to the students at Marietta City Schools, where I teach. I'm the drama teacher here at Marietta 6th Grade Academy. And I'm thankful for the food, the supplies, the time, the prayers. All of it means a lot. And I can definitely tell you that the Highlands Church is impacting my Marietta. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Kara Kreger. I'm a school social worker with Marietta City Schools. I serve students kindergarten through 12th grade throughout the district. And I just wanted to come here very quickly to state how unbelievably grateful we are for all your support to our students and families. Just this week, Highlands has met very physical, tangible needs that our families have expressed, from clothing needs to furniture delivery to meals and food. And we could not serve families in the capacity that we do without Highlands. Genuinely, I sincerely mean that. And I am so grateful, and I speak on behalf of our entire department, how just unbelievably grateful we are for that. If there is a need we cannot meet, I will call David and ask if you all would be able to or mind trying to meet it. And I'm pretty sure 100% of the time you all have met that need. And so I cannot put into words how incredible that is to be able to reach out in that way. So again, thank you so very much.
So that's it. That is also us. That's where your giving goes. Highlands is our community and our ministry to each other and our worship, but it's also an invitation to change the community and the way it knows the church that follows in the footsteps of Jesus. So far, we've been able to run after that without having to make ministry decisions out of financial concerns. We are not a church that talks a lot about money. In fact, this is probably the first time we've talked about it. But I do want you guys to know that I actually love giving. I love what giving does to my heart, and I love how encouraging people to give well excites their hearts. I've been seeing that happen this week with a couple of things totally unrelated to our church, where I've been counseling and encouraging people. And I believe that modeling loving giving and encouraging it is also a way to be a city on a hill. But we are just not going to be a church that talks a lot about money. And so in order to keep investing in our community and in our body, we're going to have to keep narrowing that gap between what's coming in and what's going out, that burn rate that Tim talked about. And here's what we would ask you to do. Here's what I am asking you to do. And it's just this, to pray. To pray about giving and to pray about God providing. To pray that we would have wisdom with what we spend. And then respond to what God says to you in prayer, just like we always ask you to do. That's it. Thank you for listening to all of this, and we love you.